Welcome to this week's Bible Contemplation. I've got so late that I thought I'd record it in here as we are set up for recording the midweek service. And today we have got as far as 1 Peter chapter 2, 13 to 17. Let's take a moment to settle in God's presence. Let's relax into the presence of our loving God. And our prayer. Jesus, may all that is in you bubble up inside me. May your body and blood be my food and drink. May your passion and death be my strength and life. Jesus, with you by my side, enough has been given. May the shelter I seek be the shadow of your cross. Let me not run from the love which you offer, but hold me safe from the forces of evil. On each of my dying, shed your light and your love. Keep calling me until that day comes when with your saints I may praise you forever. Amen. I have to admit that when I first saw this passage, I thought, I think I'll skate over that and move on to the next bit. Oh, it's 10 o'clock. Bongs going off. But no, I think this is important. So, once the bongs have stopped, right, yes. Submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every human authority, whether to the emperor as the supreme authority or to governors who are sent by him to punish those who do wrong and to commend those who do right. For it is God's will that by doing good you should silence the ignorant talk of foolish people. Live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Live as God's slaves. Show proper respect to everyone. Love the family of the believers. Fear God. Honour the emperor. So this is to Christians who were facing persecution by the Roman authorities. And Peter says, submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every human authority. What do we make of this? Well, I needed to go back to Jesus and think, now how did he respond? And Jesus, I think, is always surprising, well, really shocking. Because Jesus was shocking in his fierce challenge of religious leaders of the time, but also shocking in the way that he accepted the hated Roman rule of his country. He doesn't rebel against it, he accepts it. And that deep acceptance, I've been doing contemplative prayer for years and I struggle to get to that place of acceptance that clearly Jesus and Peter have. So what are we to say about our attitude to human authority? I think it is that we should, in the first instance, always submit to that authority. Because true freedom comes as we relinquish our freedom. Peter says, live as God's slaves, which that's surrendering our freedom in God's service. But there is great joy in surrendering freedom in this sort of way. But always leaving ourselves open to challenge corrupt and evil institutions, as Christians have done courageously in South Africa, in Russia, in China, in Nazi Germany. But not just in places that we would assume are sort of evil regimes, but also in America, which claims to be very much a Christian country. And more so when they were going along with slavery and all the horrendous abuses that we were part of in this country and in our own country. There needs to be an acceptance of, but also a challenge of authorities and institutions. Let me read the passage again. Submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every human authority, whether to the emperor as the supreme authority, or to governors who are sent by God to punish those who do wrong and to commend those who do right. For it is God's will that by doing good you should silence the ignorant talk of foolish people. Live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Live as God's slaves. Show proper respect to everyone. Love the family of believers. Fear God. Honour the emperor. I want to take us to a sentence from the middle. Live as free people, but do not use freedom as a cover-up for evil. That is a profound balance, showing great wisdom. And I think it's something we need to pray into. And I suggest, and I wasn't quite sure of the words, of using two words, holy, free. Remembering that holiness is not something that comes from our effort. I don't think you can be holy by trying hard, although many people have tried to. Holiness is something you allow God to do inside you. It comes through deep openness to God. Holy, free. Let's take a few moments to breathe into those words, to pray into those words. Holy, free. Holy, free. And the passage again. Submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every human authority, whether to the emperor as the supreme authority, or to governors who are sent by the Lord to punish those who do wrong and to commend those who do right. For it is God's will that by doing good you should silence the ignorant talk of foolish people. Live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Live as God's slaves. Show proper respect to everyone. Love the family of believers. Fear God. Honour the emperor. And in this final part, let's just reflect for a moment on how we use our freedom. How do you use your freedom? Is it for your own ends, or is it in God's service? I'm sure it will be a bit of both. But perhaps you can just be aware of the way you do use your freedom for your pleasure, your ends, rather than in God's service. And are we happy both to submit to laws that we don't like, because we won't like them all? Are we happy to submit to laws that we don't like and challenge laws which are unjust? O God, give us grace to submit to your service, to delight in the liberty that we enjoy, to use our freedom in your service, and to challenge laws which oppress the vulnerable, the weak, and the marginalised. For Jesus Christ's sake.